is the first day of 2022. So as you may have known when you click onto this video, today I'm going to talk about how I got into universities in Singapore. This is a video that I have wanted to do for a long time because I used to rely on these kind of videos a lot when I was applying myself. But for some reasons, I kept procrastinating it mostly because it's kind of awkward to just sit down and talk for very long. So today I've decided to incorporate it with decorating a gingerbread house. I know it's way past Christmas and it's not even a gingerbread house, it's more like a waffle house, but the ingredients I ordered came late and it doesn't hurt anyone, so I'm just going to do it. Here's the pile of waffles I prepared. A huge disclaimer before I start the video. I'm not the school admission office myself, and so everything that I say is just based on my past experience as an applicant, and also it differs from country to country depending on the degree that you're applying for. So I highly recommend you to check out the respective school's websites for the latest information. But if you want to know more about my experience during the application process, essay writing, interview, stay tuned. And so yeah, let's get started. First of all, I have some colored sugar here. I'm going to sprinkle it and I'm going to talk about the application process. So usually the application process starts from October and you will start with submitting an application form. And during that phase, what you have to do is you have to prepare your GPA of the previous years, you have to prepare your CCA profile, you have to prepare the essay, as well as results of standardized tests like IELTS or TOEFL. Most of the schools, including NTU, NUS, and SMU, will open the application form in November and then they will close the application form in December. And so you have several months to write your essays and prepare everything and stuff. And once you have submitted your application form, they will take a look at it and they will decide whether or not to move you onto the next round. So different schools have different priorities when they look at your profile. For NTU and NUS, I think they look mostly at your academic results, whether it is academic achievements or your GPA. But for SMU, they also look at GPA, but I think they do pay closer attention at your essays and also your standardized results. So that is something that you need to take note of when you're applying for different schools because you will be evaluated differently. Once that's over, what happens next also depends on the degree that you are using and also the year and the situation and everything. So for us Vietnamese students, usually we have to do this thing called the university entrance exam. So basically, you have to do a math and an English paper. The content of the paper is similar to what is learned in the Singapore's A-level curriculum. And depending on the major that you're applying for, you may or may not have to take a third subject, which can be physics or chemistry or biology or even humanities in the case of NUS. So humanities includes econ, geography, and history. But for the previous year, because of the COVID pandemic and everything, the UEE got cancelled for students in Vietnam. And for NTU, we got an interview instead. For NUS, they asked for a grade 12 GPA and then they look at that and they decided. For SMU, they will also shortlist you, but it works a little differently. If you're really very potential, you might be called for an interview early. So one by one, they will be calling students up for interview. So this entire phase is going to be from January to up to July. I'm causing a mess right here because I don't have if you have the shift, you can shift the sugar down, but I don't have it, so it's really messy around here. Once again, whether or not you get the result early will depend on a lot of factors. So normally, if you have to do the university entrance exam,
NTU is going to be in February and NUS is going to be around March, and you will get the result for NTU during March and then the result for NUS around April.
But because of COVID and everything, it can change. It's just how it is, Okay, I'm going to let this sit for a while for it to dry. Okay, on the one day when I finally decide to make this video, it rains. So this is the mini little door. I feel like this year gingerbread house has the potential to be something. So different schools also have different essays topics. topic and different approaches to essay. For NUS, there's only one question. It's not really a question, so just make sure that it's within 2,000 words and that's okay. For NTU, they have 3 different essay topics. They're all still about you, but they ask for different things. It's technically the same every year, but I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it and I don't want to get into trouble. But I think that if you want to know what the questions are, you can find on the internet. They're everywhere. And the word limit for NTU is also 300 words, so approximately 2,000 characters also. Also for NTU, I think that if you are not applying for scholarship or tuition fee grant, you don't have to write essay, I think. And then for SMU, they have a different approach to essay. They value essay more, and so you'll also be asked to write more. So you will have one main essay, which is still going to be about yourself, so you can write anything about yourself, and then you will have a bunch of different like smaller sub-essays. So they will ask you questions and you have to answer them. So basically you have to write a bunch of different essays, a bunch of different paragraphs, but you will only have one main essay. Personally, I wrote my essays pretty early on. I think I wrote mine during like July and August because my teachers told me to write early, and I think that's a good thing to do because usually the essay is the hardest part, and by like completing it first, give yourself like a sense of like, I'm halfway there, like I'm halfway through my application form and I just need to like complete the documents and stuff. My 3 essays, the basic ideas are the same. I highlight like my CCA achievements and also the reasons why I think I'm suitable for the major that I'm applying for. But I twisted like talk about like in different ways. Hi guys, this is me hopping in because I think I didn't make myself clear enough. So basically what I was trying to say was that you don't have to write a completely new essay every single time, but you can try to reuse some elements of an essay for another. Personally for me, all of my essays were about the same things, but then I tried to twist it in different ways. For NTU, because the question was directly about achievements, I just talk about it. But for NUS and SMU, it would be a little weird to just start talking about your achievements. So for SMU, I talked about my experience with business in the past because I was applying for business, and then I linked that to my CCA profile, my experiences and stuff. And for NUS, I actually talked about how I have large forehead and how Vietnamese people often associate it with being stubborn. But then I linked that, I explained how that stubbornness actually helped me with decision making and how that actually helped me achieve success. So basically with the same idea, you can try to talk about it in different ways. But when you do that, try to remember to include specific parts that link to the school that you're applying for, because just try not to create the impression that you are using the same essay for all the schools. So that was what I was trying to say. So while I'm waiting for all the pieces to dry, I'm going to talk a little bit about my profile. So for GPA, I don't remember that clearly. I will pull it up on the screen. But basically, grade 10 to grade 11, it went up. And then in grade 12, it went down a little bit. If you look at it on a scale of 10, it's kind of high, but because of like grade inflation, it's not that high. For CCA profile, I had some like debate achievements and then also participate in leadership positions of some organizations and clubs. And then for standardized exams, I got 114 for TOEFL. You don't have to get SAT and ACT to apply for universities in Singapore. For IELTS, the first time I took it was in 2019 and I got an 8.0. I used that score to apply for all the schools during the first round when I was submitting the application form. And then in the middle of the application process, I retook the IELTS test and I ended up getting 8.5. Because at that point I was already done with NTU's interview, I didn't bother changing it on my NTU application. But I did change it on my NUS and SMU application. So just a little information on like what score I used for which schools. Not to brag about it, but I would say that they were pretty decent scores, and you don't necessarily have to get such high scores to get into NTU and NUS, especially when you're applying for courses like engineering, STEM courses, subjects that are not directly related to English. But if you're applying for social science, especially linguistic or communication, it's better for you to have a high standardized English score, because when you actually study, your subjects will be highly related to English and you have to use it a lot. And so don't stress out too much if your standardized scores are not that high. I know a lot of people who got into the school with IELTS like from 6 above. 6 to 7 is okay as long as you're also good at what you're applying for, so you're also good at your major, it would be fine. But for SMU, I think that because it's a business school, try to get it as high as possible. I did not get interviewed for all the school. I got interviewed for NTU and SMU, and for NUS they just look at my profile. But for the 2 schools I did do an interview for NTU specifically because of my course, I applied for communication study, so I did an interview face-to-face with the school administrators, and so it was not very complicated. They mostly asked me like questions about myself, like why did I choose NTU, why did I choose communication. I think it was just about like 5 or 6 questions. The entire interview was really short, around like 10 to 15 minutes. So that was me. I did the interview face-to-face, but all of my other friends who applied for other majors, they did an interview with a computer. So basically it shows the question on the screen and you have like 30 seconds or something to answer a question. I actually prefer like face-to-face communication because it's more comfortable. Just so you know, you may either get a face-to-face or a computer interview. Hi, it's me again, because apparently I lost part when I was talking about SMU. I might as well do an entire video like this. But anyway, so for SMU, I was called up for a group interview, and I think that's the same for all business students. And how that works is that it's basically a discussion between like 5 students. The interviewer will also be the moderator, and he or she will give you a topic, and all the questions will be related to that. So my topic was COVID-19. Questions would be like, how do you think COVID-19 affect small businesses and large businesses? How do you think we can improve it? How we can operate effectively during COVID-19? And also, there was a question in the end when he asked us to think of a business model that would do well during the COVID-19 pandemic. So basically, the questions are related to that topic and also related to business. So the way it works is pretty simple. You'll be given a question, you will raise your hand to answer the questions. So for the answer, you can say anything that contributes to the discussion. It can be a new idea, you can add on to a previous idea, you can add a contrasting idea, anything. Other than content, another thing that's very important for this kind of interview is that you have to take the initiative. You have to be the first person to answer the question once in a while, because if you just sit there and listen to other people and waiting to be called, they will not regard you that highly. And when other people are speaking, try to respect them, try to focus on what is being discussed, and good luck! So to conclude this video, here are some of the lessons I've learned. First of all, be ready for changes. Initially, I only had to submit my GPA up to grade 11. I remember the moment I finished my grade 11 semester 2, I was like, yes! I don't have to care about my GPA anymore. Throughout the first semester of senior year, I just like focused on UEE and application and stuff and not like really cared about my GPA. But then COVID came and everything changed. Eventually, we had to submit our grade 12 score for NUS and SMU to consider. So just a lesson, which is that try to maintain your grade, try to keep it like at the decent range so that even if things change, you're ready for it. My grade 12 GPA was actually not that bad, but it did go down a little bit. You cannot focus on everything at the same time, but also try to have like backup plans so that you are ready if there are changes. My second piece of advice is to start early. As I said, different schools have different priorities, and if you really aim for a school, you should try to devote most of your time to things that will benefit your application in a way that will get you into that school. Because I didn't plan to go to Singapore until like very late. I spent the first 2 years of high school building up my CCA and also to get a decent like standardized score, which are things that are important if you are applying for other countries, but are not the most important things when you apply for universities in Singapore. And so if you aim to go to Singapore, try to get a good GPA. And also the best thing that you can do is to get national, international academic achievements. The last piece of advice I have is to focus on yourself. The entire time I was always the black sheep because I was the only person who was like applying for a social science course, and it was really challenging because I was never good at math, but I was put into the same class as some of the best math students in the entire country. So even though I knew that I was applying for a different course and those required different things, I still sometimes stressed out because I was not as good at math as the other people. But I think that it's good to know where you are and to know what you have to focus on without looking around and paying too much attention to what other people are doing. You cannot be good at everything. You just have to be good at what your major requires, and that is already good enough. So that's everything I have to say for this video. I'm going to finish up the gingerbread house and I'm going to show you a result. I'm kind of scared that it's going to look like ridiculous and I wouldn't be able to like show it to you guys. But yeah, we'll see. So bye for now.